welcome to another Freaky Friday on Invisible Walls.
Aye. It's Friday. It's Invisible Walls 143. This is not Shane. Shane is not in today. Neither is Ryan. We've actually got a totally new crew today, which is awesome. I say new. You've heard them all before.
It's a B team in the house.
It's it's the big sluggers that we only bring out every couple of months. Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year's, when Ryan and Shane are away. Joining me today is Patrick Morales.
Hello.
Mr. Bloodworth.
I am here, and Facebook says it's this guy's birthday.
Oh,
who's that?
Really?
That's right.
Miguel Lopez. It's your birthday. How old are you?
7,436.
I'm not talking about your penis size. I'm talking about, how old are you?
I'm 33 today.
33. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
You're going to get lots of love now on your Facebook page.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's going to be adding you and is going to be sending you stuff, so.
They're not going to be able to find him a name like that. Are you kidding me?
That's true, yeah. I'm like the John Smith of the Spanish language. So. Good luck.
And finally, Mike Damiani.
Hey, y'all.
All right, let's crack on.
Although costs at the pump are ready to break the dreaded $20 ceiling.
Deal with good confidence! This is bad confidence!
Okay, first up, there was an event last week, wasn't there, Miguel? Birthday boy.
Yes, sir. THQ. I was in New York over the course of 3 days.
How was the weather?
The weather was awful. I'm from Miami, and I obviously live in California now. And I've seen snow like 10 times in my life, man, and I got quite enough of that.
I gotta say though, I mean, just on the subject of weather, we're in Los Angeles. It's the middle of January, and it's 80 fucking degrees. This is not right. I mean, where I come from, this is like tropical summer heat. There is no way it should be this hot in January. People are wearing short sleeves and shorts and flip flops, and it's like wrong.
But you have to remember, we had like 50 and 60 degree weather in July, so it's kind of just flipping itself over.
And that again is tropical if you come from the UK. Anyway, moving on. Let's go back to THQ. You went to New York last week, which is kind of bizarre. They fly you all the way out to New York when their offices are about 45 minutes up the 101 in Calabasas.
Yeah, I figure it's because they also invited a lot of European press, and it's a bit easier for them to get to New York than it is to get to the West Coast. So it was a decent, we all had to endure a 6-hour flight.
So what do they have to show? I mean, they've got some interesting stuff. We know about Red Faction, Homefront you're going to talk about. What was their full lineup like?
It was certainly interesting. Yeah, we'll focus on those games, but there was Red Faction, there was a new MX versus ATV game. There was a new WWE game, which it's not in the vein of the stuff that they're putting out now. It's kind of harkening back to the older wrestling arcade games, sort of more arcadey, a bit more like fast-paced, so to speak.
Not so much on the career modes and stuff like that. More picking up chairs and beating the shit out of each other.
Right, exactly. It's all about crazy special moves, jumping, doing a brain buster 20 feet up in the air and that kind of thing. That looked pretty interesting, WWE All-Stars. But yeah, I would say the focal point of the event was the new Red Faction game, and also they talked big about Homefront multiplayer.
So before we get to those two, did they show a new MMA game?
They did not know. I think that was supposed to be there, but it was pulled at the last minute because I guess they weren't ready to show it quite yet. But yeah, it should have been, I guess on day 2, we should have been seeing the WWE All-Stars game and that new MMA game.
Okay, because that's interesting, because that's their biggest franchise far and away right now.
Sure.
So I'm sure we'll see that in the coming weeks. All right, well, we'll talk about Homefront last, because that's the one I'm actually kind of looking forward to the most. Talk about Red Faction. What's the new Red Faction like? What does it bring to the table?
Well, if you're thinking about Red Faction Guerrilla, the last game, this is kind of a pretty significant departure in that it's no longer an open world game. It's I just from what I saw and played, it's probably more in terms of pacing more similar to something like Dead Space. It still has the focus on destructibility, but it's more about sort of leading you down the nose through a more sort of focused and scripted experience. From what I saw, it does achieve the goal of making every fight seem more like an event. It's no longer just this random skirmish in the middle of nowhere. You're fighting aliens this time around. Apparently they delved deep into the surface of Mars and they found this crazy race of aliens who apparently some maniac cult leader decided to align with them or something. I'm kind of sketchy on the details. But
it sounds like they're kind of sketchy on the details. I mean, it sounds like they've ripped off Total Recall.
But yeah, it's in terms of what you expect from a Red Faction game, having this environment that's completely destructible. It's kind of all still in there, and there's some crazy new weapons that make it. I don't know. It seems like it's fun in a different way to destroy things rather than just simply blowing up everything around you and then hoping it topples onto whatever you're trying to kill.
Do you think they're going to reach out to a new audience? Because, I mean, I've never been one who's been attracted to the Red Faction franchise. It's never really, grabbed me by the nuts and said, come play me.
I don't know about that. I would say that there are already tons of people who like that kind of game, sort of run and gun.
The franchise is sold very well. This is, what, the fourth game in the franchise, I think now? Fourth, fifth?
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, the Red Faction 1 and 2 are both FPSs, and then the open world one came out, and this is I guess in a sense this is kind of going back to its roots, more focused experience. But yeah, obviously it's not since it's not an open world game anymore. The notion of sort of wanton destruction that you kind of pace at your will is not really there anymore. So they're going to have to rely more on constructing cool scenarios with like cool set pieces that you're able to destroy for it to, I guess, really live up to what we've come to expect from the series. There was a cool weapon. I feel like I wouldn't be doing it the game service without mentioning it. It's the magnet gun, which is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. You shoot bullet A at the object you want to pull and bullet B at what you want to pull that thing to. So, just imagine there's a huge silo in front of you. You shoot the first shot at that, and then like there's some creature scurrying. You shoot the target at that. And all of a sudden the silo will come off its foundations and smash into that thing. One thing that I will mention is that this is something that I encountered a lot while I was playing. Since you have all this destructive weaponry at your disposal, you end up basically beating the crap out of the environment. And if it's a question of you having to go somewhere where you have to like ascend several levels, a lot of the time I found that I would inadvertently fall down a hole that I created and then have to like backtrack for 2 minutes and then, just kind of get disoriented. The game
Wasn't there like a repair kind of gun too? Yeah.
The game has a function where you could basically repair anything you've destroyed, and it'll, literally how it sounds. It'll reconstitute the environment around you. But I don't know, at least playing it for half an hour, I wasn't super mindful of that, especially when, throughout the course of a battle, you're like moving 50 feet in a second, you don't know if you were to come back to a spot where you blew out and then, the level I played took place mostly inside a bunker, like an interior environment, and pretty much everything seemed destructible. I guess I didn't go out of my way to try to sort of break the flow. But I'm pretty sure there are going to be chambers where, the ones that they use to ferret you from one place to the next that aren't going to be destructible like that. But I didn't notice there wasn't anything that jumped out at me as thinking, okay, this should have been destructible, and it wasn't.
All right, so the other game is the one I'm really interested in. I have been since I saw this at E3, and this is Homefront. This is the one where the US has been invaded, and it's basically, it's Red Dawn,
right,
minus Patrick Swayze. And
which is a preposterous scenario, right? Like, what the fuck is North Korea going to do to you?
How North Korea could invade,
right.
The US. Well, is it once? I think it's like one small town. No. Anyway, so tell us what you saw on Homefront, because that's coming out soon on the PC. And
well, the focus of this event was multiplayer, and they were basically they were unveiling. I believe the system is called the Battlefield Commander, which is essentially think that as you're playing through a multiplayer match, the AI is going to be constantly keeping track of your progress and how well you're doing. And as you accomplish things like kill streaks, you'll get a certain number rating that is basically telling you how good you're doing and rewarding you by buffing you and increasing your capabilities for doing these impressive feats.
So basically, it's the same thing as the kill streak.
It's essentially a Call of Duty kill streak, but as you're accomplishing these things, the enemy team will know that you're like a hot performer for the opposition, and so the enemy team will get prompts to target you, and they'll get bonuses for attacking you.
They get incentivized. That's actually quite clever.
Does that latch onto the battle points system that they announced previously?
The battle points being what, like the experience you gain in fights to like buy weapons. And
Yeah,
that's-
currency for buying like vehicles and weapons. And
Yeah,
stuff.
I'm pretty sure. Your battle point bonuses will increase as you get this sort of like notoriety rating in game.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's cool. Essentially, if you're doing well, the opposing team is gonna get basically quests to hunt you down. It's an extra incentive to sort of seek out the people who are hot dogging the match.
And how did it play? I mean, you got to play for half an hour or an hour?
Yeah, I messed around with it a bit. It seems like it works decently in practice. We got a pretty good walkthrough of it that's going to be up on the site when you guys are listening to this that shows that in action. For instance, let's say that somebody is busting shit up with a vehicle. It'll pop up on your screen, the minute they reach a certain level, and it'll give you sort of it won't tell you precisely where they are, but it'll give you a marker that tells you their general vicinity. And then if it's a sort of match like a capture points match where getting there within seconds can mean the difference between capturing the point or losing it, then you could see how it would work really well for that. Another cool thing that they showed was the use of drones. Mm-hmm. If you guys are familiar with Frontline's Fuel of War, that game tried to use that a bit. It's basically like remote controlled death devices that you could use to kill people, or there's one that's all about marking targets so that if you mark targets with that, your whole team could see where they are on the map with like these big ass like diamonds on their UI. The cool thing about that, and the thing that I think is going to be it's going to make them have to be extra careful with how they design maps, is that when you're piloting one of these drones, you're essentially a sitting duck, so you gotta go and find like a cubby hole or some safe place in the environment where you could control this drone and make effective use of it without
or at least have a teammate watch your back, so
yeah,
nobody
you
comes up behind you
on
and
your back.
pops one in your
nobody's
head.
gonna think about it, man. In a shooter, nobody's gonna do that shit. Like, hey, watch me. Yeah, go to hell. I'm gonna go try to get kills.
Yeah, I actually played a bit of Homefront multiplayer a while back, and that's something that I dug about the game. Just the fact that you could enact these different combat roles on the fly.
Right.
The battle point system is super flexible. It's not quite like Call of Duty, where once you spawn, you're kind of locked into your loadout until you die.
Right.
You can buy stuff on the fly for when the situation calls for it. Like something that I like to do was if we were just about to take over a point, but there were a bunch of other people there.
Yeah.
I would hide in a barn somewhere and launch the recon drone.
Right.
And just like fly around and scout and mark where people are.
Right.
And I get battle points for that. I think that's cool. Getting credit for something that's
Sure, yeah,
not
for
related to
doing the support role. Yeah, it incentivizes it pretty well. Yeah, and when I first messed around with that recon drone, I was trying to kill people. I was like, what the hell, man? How do you shoot? But yeah, you're putting those markers on, and like once you have a marker on someone and they're 400 or 500 feet away, like those guys are as good as dead.
Nintendo 3DS, with all the features we've described today, will be offered at a manufacturer's suggested retail price of $249.99.
We record on a Wednesday, as most of you know, before going live on a Friday. And this morning, there was a rather large event in New York. Nintendo were flying people out. I think that's why Ryan's actually not here today. And they were announcing the US and European info on the 3DS. Obviously, our Mike Damiani was up early. We didn't fly him out there, but he was up early and live. You're watching the streams live, or basically do you just read the press release like I did when I got out of bed at 9 o'clock this morning?
I read the press release. I slept in. I was like, I'm pretty sure we all kind of knew what the price range was going to be. We knew it was coming out in March. I wasn't really expecting that big of a surprise. I was like, I can get a few hours of sleep and just learn with everyone else when they wake up.
Well, let's look at the salient points. We're looking at March 27th, so it's really $249. It's in two colors. Was there anything there that was a surprise to you, or was it all pretty much everything you'd figured
The thing
out?
that just stood out immediately is that I kind of thought it was going to be mid-March. I think the rumors were like March 15th. So the fact that it's coming out towards the end of March and it's actually the last territory to get it was a little surprising. I think it's because Nintendo does their Sunday releases, so it had to come out on a Sunday, and that's what it ended up coming out. I think the biggest surprise was going back and forth the rumors about the online and the friend codes. First, it was reported that it was going to have friend codes in every game again, and everyone thought that was backwards thinking on Nintendo's part. But they finally confirmed today that is just one system code, and that's it. So it's a bit of a step forward on their online there. Just how about like where that's an actual code, a username, what will still be seen, but that makes me happy.
I think it's a serial, yeah.
Yeah, it's probably the same as before.
They didn't actually say that yet, but I mean that's just going by what they did with Wii and DS. It was a serial number, but
Yeah.
I mean it could be the system name this time. Who knows? But that was one thing. The other thing was the shop channel is getting a little bit of an overhaul. You had no more Wii and DS points. It's just straight cash now.
Oh.
You don't buy points anymore. Games will be listed by a U.S. I'm going by the North American territory, U.S. dollar price, and that's how it's going to be now. It's going to be kind of like PSN. They weren't clear on if you could just pay like $3.99 for a Game Boy game, or do you have to buy in blocks like $10, $20, $30 amounts. But I kind of like that. I hate the point system. I think that's horrible. I like just seeing the prices. I thought PSN did it the best.
I know they mentioned that you could bring all your DSi purchases to the 3DS. Any word on if Wii Virtual Console stuff can go to the 3DS?
They haven't said anything about whether Wii Virtual Console stuff is back and forth. It's just strictly the DS stuff right now. And just again, I think we might have been mentioned in the past, but it is the system transfer feature for the 3DS or DSi to 3DS. There's a limit on how much you can transfer, and some content will not be transferable. So, but at least they're giving you the option. So it's not like
And it comes
you'd be
with
screwed over.
a 2 gig card to help with those transfers.
Yeah,
Out the
that's
back,
good.
which is normally they're very adept at gouging a little bit extra. So let's talk about the games, because that's obviously that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Don't exactly buy it just to PictoChat. They announced the list that was almost already out. Everybody had a real pretty solid idea. It looks like Pilot Wings and Nintendogs and Cats, sort of like the two that are really going to hit day one.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't actually announce what are going to be their launch day titles. I mean, for clarification, they did this weird thing. They said, here's the launch window titles.
Yeah, between the end of March and E3, which,
Yeah.
it's not like the public knows when E3 is.
Well, we're looking at the list includes Pilot Wings Resort, Nintendogs and Cats, Steel Diver, which is a side-scrolling submarine adventure. That gives the illusion that the player is peering into an aquarium. So it's basically a $50 version of something I used to have as a kid, because I used to have an aquarium. And it was basically a submarine with a rubber hose into it and connected to a little ball that I would basically squeeze the ball, it would send air in, and the submarine would go up and down and scare the shit out of the fishes. So it's basically a $50 version of that, apparently.
Did they say $50 is the first party price? For games?
I thought that was hasn't that been the price for?
I think that everyone's just going on. I guess what like Amazon's listing. It's like $39.99
GameStop as well.
and it's $34.99 for third party. So
I mean, if I'm wrong on the price, I'm wrong on the price.
Yeah.
I've been wrong on lots of things, so it wouldn't be a first. And then they don't talk about the release dates for Zelda, Ocarina of Time, which I know is your favorite, Star Fox 64, Kid Icarus. And they say there's new Mario Kart, Animal Crossing, and Paper Mario series games coming.
And the biggest surprise obviously Zelda for me. I mean, it was said spring 2011. That was by the Japanese release, and then it's not even in that launch window. That window of time we gave everyone, they have not put Ocarina of Time in there.
Yeah.
So
They just say that's in the works.
It's in the works. Now, to be fair, the president of Nintendo did say that they wanted to avoid those software gaps that Nintendo has been known for, where they'll go, like usually in the summer there'll be a dry spell. They wanted to even out their releases to kind of pad the year so that they didn't have a drop off in sales.
And they're also trying again with the 3DS to get more third parties to be successful.
Well, they do release a partial list again of the third party, and we've got Shin Megami Tensei Devil Survivor, Overclocked, which is the most insane friggin' title of a game.
Well, the SMT at the beginning is pretty much never. It's just kind of like one of those things. It's like at the top of the box. Like you just call it Devil Survivor.
It's Devil Survivor Overclocked.
Yeah. But I mean, again, it's just kind of like a 3D
SMT
port.
DSO.
And I think most of Ubisoft games are just 3D ports of like bad old mobile and DS games.
Yeah, they've got Ghost Recon in there, Shadow Wars, Splinter Cell, Rayman. I bet Rayman. We're having this discussion that Rayman 3D and Rabbids Travel in Time are probably some of the first ones to be churned.
Yeah.
I mean, released, not churned.
launched. Yeah.
Did I say
But,
churned?
I think that those will be churned out. Actually,
Yeah.
so.
But Street Fighter, which is a launch title in Japan, and it's just a 3D version of Super Street Fighter 4. Apparently it's only listed for April 26th, a whole month after it comes out. The 3DS launches.
Has anybody called Capcom to ask?
That's what's listed on their on the press site right now, and
Okay.
and Mercenaries is just listed as summer. I always figured that would be later, but like a whole month waiting for Street Fighter. So really, if you don't like Nintendogs or cats, and you don't like Pilot Wings, I think a lot of people are looking towards Street Fighter as like a good title for launch, and assuming it was going to launch here.
They're gonna need 5
Well,
or
Dead or
6
Alive
really
is also
good
coming
games.
out. We don't know exactly when though.
I don't know.
Well, perhaps Resident Evil's coming out.
Well, no, Resident Evil Mercenaries is summer, and then Revelations is later on. So,
Alright. So yeah, they really need to have
I'm a little less
a couple of good ones. I mean, Lego Star Wars 3: The Clone Wars, which will be fun. But I mean, what is going to be their day one for the hardcore game? You pre-ordered it. You showed us your receipt last week. What the fuck are you going to be playing day one? Nintendogs?
Hasn't
Right.
history
No.
proven that buying these systems day one is kind of a sucker move?
Well, we had this.
No, not
We
always.
had this
Not
discussion.
always,
I mean, Nintendo normally, they come with something really, good. I mean, even you look at the Wii Sports Resort. Wii Sports.
It came out with Zelda. We
Yeah.
launched with Zelda, so I don't think that was us.
But it also came
Yeah.
with Wii Sports,
Yeah.
which was perfect for for the Wii. I mean, they said there's a game coming which is going to be what was it, Face Shooter?
Oh yes,
Yes. Let me just scroll.
that's
Face
like
Raiders.
that's inside of the hardware, right?
Yeah,
That's
Face
loaded.
Raiders, which basically shows off, you take pictures of yourself and your friends' faces and you get to shoot them and distort them and do lots of things to them, which is going to be
That sounds like a winner to me.
that sounds
That's day
fantastic,
one
yeah.
Miguel right there.
Well, it kind of reminds me of Faceball 2000 for the original Game Boy, but at the same time, it blows my mind that Nintendo would like leave an opening for everyone to like be alarmist, right there, like put your face in the game and shoot it.
Well, that's the thing. The new 3DS, not only is it going to make your child blind, it's going to make them want to shoot themselves in the face. Fox News is going to be all over this like a cheap suit.
I gotta say, I'm just not impressed with the launch lineup, and I can understand anyone who doesn't want to be an early adopter of 3DS. Nintendo gave an excuse to people to wait on it.
Studio allows you to paint, draw, and color anything, from the simple to the sophisticated.
All right, it's numbers time. NPD, and yet again, Game Trailers is the exclusive home of NPD numbers. No, we've seen some of the numbers that have come through, and everybody's been announcing that December was a banner month for the games industry, and yes, it was, and it's thrown out a few surprises. It's also thrown out that every prediction I've ever made that Nintendo and the Wii are dead and are not selling. I mean, it's just made me look like a total fucking muppet yet again when the games industry made over $2 billion in December and Nintendo was accounted for almost $1 billion. Just Nintendo first party between their console sales and their first party software.
Oh wait, isn't it $2 billion just counting the software?
Actually, that's right, yeah.
More money for them.
Shit, yeah. I mean, it made over $2 billion, yeah. The software was $2.3 billion for the entire industry, with over 100 games selling over 100,000. And then Nintendo also chipped in with $750 million, or actually just over that in console sales between the Wii and the DS. So yeah, Nintendo just made a shitload of money. I mean, I'm breaking down the figures here. There are 13 Wii games in the top 30. They had 9 of the top 20, 5 of the top 10, and 3 of the top 5. And it's not. I mean, yes, Just Dance 2 is the number one selling game.
2 million.
2 million. But I mean, it seems like almost everybody who still uses a Wii bought one. But then you look at 3 and 4, and that's Donkey Kong Country Returns and Epic Mickey, which sold 1.5 million units life to date, and that came out the last weekend?
The very last day of November.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, so that's really good for Mickey.
Those sales blow my mind.
Yeah.
I never in my wildest dream thought it would sell close to that, even with the full month.
It's the perfect storm of being one of those games that is Disney, so therefore a lot of parents bought it. But if you are a gamer, it actually has something there for you as well. It's not just a nasty ass cash in. I mean, it does have some good stuff in it. And then you look at the one directly above it, Donkey Kong Country Returns. I mean, that's a classic game.
Yeah, that one I did kind of expect to sell just because Nintendo was pushing that the hardest for their holiday marketing, but how much it increased from it came out in November because it did like 400,000 in November, didn't it? Like what, quadrupled its sales almost.
Well,
Tripled sales,
in December,
it did
1.344 million.
A little more than
yeah.
That's quite a bit.
It tripled.
But yeah, I mean, I expected Epic Mickey to do moderately well. I mean, the reception to it was a little more lukewarm, so I thought it would kind of like be like a big sales burst at the beginning and kind of like die off kind of fast. But
they had a lot of promotion for
what
it.
happened for it.
Yeah. Well, we saw Kinect kind of jump back up in there with Kinect Sports and Dance Central doing really well. 2
Kinect games in the top 10. I mean, in the top 30, there are no Move games. But considering my predictions have always bit me on the ass in the past, I am not going to say that the Move is dead.
Yeah,
I'll wait till after E3.
I didn't really do the figures on December, but I remember like in November it looked like they
only had a couple.
The
of
Kinect
games
was
in the top
doing
30.
the Kinect games, the top Kinect games were doing like 10 times what the top Move games are doing.
Yeah, there's I think three or four maybe Kinect games in the top 30, but like you said, 360 Dance Central and Kinect Sports both in the top 10. Again, if they've sold way more, I mean, they launched at the right time. They had a really great campaign behind it.
And then UDraw out of nowhere, like I hadn't even heard of that until it showed up at our office.
UDraw Studio with UDraw tablets from THQ. So you get to draw a new
has
logo
anyone
for them.
seen an ad or a spot or anything?
Just press releases.
Again, that's the smart way to do that is they don't advertise with the gaming public. They don't advertise on game trailers or GameSpot or in. That's the sort of stuff that somebody's bought a Wii and it's like, oh, that's going to be smart for my kid. It's educational.
Right.
And it comes with a tablet that you plug in, and there are going to be a lot of people who have, 600,000 and counting who've basically bought that. And it's like, the kid's like, I got a Wii game for Christmas. It's fucking UDraw with a tablet. What?
Couldn't for the price of a Wii and UDraw though, couldn't you get pretty close to an iPad?
No. No, UDraw was what, $100? I think it's like $99.
Yeah, so about
the iPad is 8 times that.
$500.
Yeah, the iPad
yeah,
is
but
like $600
I guess
and
if you already
$800.
have a Wii, but if you're saying somebody went and picked up a Wii at the same time,
look at Super Mario All Stars 25th Anniversary Edition.
Yes, free money.
A game
right
that came out in 1994, 16 years old, selling 500,000 copies.
Well, yeah. Well, also look at the game just a little bit above that. Just below that is Super Mario Kart. I mean, that's another game that has just been giving for Nintendo for the last 20 years. I mean, and then number 11.
Yeah,
Michael
but
Jackson,
the difference here is we're talking about they literally took a Super Nintendo cartridge, put it on a disc, put an extra CD and art book inside, and it's a full $50.
I think it's $39.99.
$39?
Yeah.
Let me throw this out. Is it a bad game? Or is it a pan?
I prefer to just play the original NES versions. I don't really like those Super NES remakes.
It's a virtual console stuff, and you're just paying for it on a disc and fancy packaging.
It's the holiday season. It's easier to wrap up a disc and a book as opposed to have some Nintendo points.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is. It's a smart tactic. You look at the amount of games that sold. I'm sure a lot of them were in bundles. Let's look briefly at the the console numbers, and I'm absolutely ecstatic that yet again the GameCube is shifting units. Second month running, we've managed to say that GameCube is sold 2 units. I mean, who'd be more disappointed? The kids who got the UDraw game for the Wii or those who got the GameCube? I think the GameCube ones are actually, probably a little bit happier than whoever got the UDraw.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that they was just saran wrapped with 40 games on the outside of that game.
The entire GameCube catalog.
Being honest, the story of those 2 people who got that GameCube would be way more interesting to me than all these fucking numbers. I wonder who bought it, where, how,
If you
why.
know somebody who has bought a GameCube in the last couple of months, brand new, or if you know a store that's still selling brand new GameCubes, you should just drop us a line, invisiblewalls@gametrailers.com, or through the Twitter or through the Facebook page. And yeah, we'd like to know that. We'll do some investigative journalism, or get you to do it for us anyway.
There's still some uses for the GameCube because we can play GameCube games, but there's still some things specific to the GameCube that are
Game Boy Advance connectivity?
You can't use, if you like playing import games, GameCube import games, you can't use the freeloader, and I don't think Gecko or whatever the homebrew crap on Wii works for GameCube stuff. So if your GameCube died and you want to play those import GameCube games, you might have to buy another GameCube system.
All right, so let's look at the consoles. The hands down winner was the DS.
Yep.
Again, followed by the Wii, and then the 360, then the PS3. So, all right, let's break down the top 30. I've broken them down by console. The Wii has 13 games in the top 30. The 360 has 8 games in the top 30. PS3 has 5, and the DS has 4. So Nintendo has over 50% of the market share.
Yeah, and I looked through the top 200, and there are only 3 PSP games.
Wow. Well,
so
yeah. Do you think we should mention about the God of War Ghost of Sparta?
I don't have the number off.
That game did not do well. The original one sold, like, through press release, it sold over 1 million copies. The Chains of Olympus, the first PSP one. I believe the newest one,
it's done like 100,000, 150,000.
Yeah, it's done like
a
tenth of the sales in 2 months.
All right, so what the hell if people if almost 500,000 people bought PSPs in America in December of last year? Are they just is there just a bunch of back catalog on used and just really cheap? I mean, is it on price reduction now? Is it like buy a Kindle and get a PSP free?
You can point to a lot of things. A lot of people like to point to piracy, but I mean, we and DS have just as much piracy issues as PSP. I couldn't blame that. I don't know. They didn't really market that God of War game. I can tell you that's probably why it didn't sell nearly as much.
It came out earlier last year, yeah.
No, it came out in the fall.
It came out in the fall. It came out at a bad time. It came out against a lot of good games, whereas Chains of Olympus was a spring title and had less competition. But, I mean, even like, what was it, Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep? I mean, it sold well, but...
That was the lowest of the PSP games.
You do not see many million sellers on PSP, period. It's just, games just don't sell very well on that platform. It makes you wonder what they could do with a future.
If you look at it, I mean, there's only one PS3 game really in the topped 1 million in December, and that's Call of Duty Black Ops. And that's pretty much the worst version. So I think that's more of just brand familiarity. But I think what we take from this NPD is Nintendo rules. Activision have made a shitload of money out of Black Ops yet again. The Kinect seems to be so far a success for Microsoft. The Move is teetering. It needs something to really pump it up.
Yeah, Sorcery's a long way off.
Yeah. Just real quick, no thoughts on GT5, Gran Turismo 5?
It is, it's done just under 1 million now.
So it's done okay?
It did,
how is that?
It did 500,000, 560,000 in the month of December from the 28th of November through to January the 1st. So, it's a driving game. It's, the PS3. I'm not slagging PS3 off here. The PS3 has this problem with attachment rates where, it's a bloody great console, but if it's selling, why, is perhaps not the software not really selling as much as it should outside of Call of Duty? I mean, the attachment rate is really low, and that's, they're doing all the marketing, and the marketing's really good. The console's really good. The software is really good. Where's the disconnect? Why is it that, you're seeing, twice as many almost 360 games in the top 30 as you are PS3 games?
Yeah. I mean, signs point to Gran Turismo doing a lot better in Europe, for sure. But, I mean, fortunately, we don't really have reliable numbers from there.
Well, I'm looking at the games are, Madden, NFL, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, Need for Speed Hot Pursuit. So, the driving games are doing well. So with 2 driving games with the PS3 in the top 30. But that's interesting. I'd love to know, if anybody could figure that out, they become a very rich person. Okay, finally for this week, we talked about, and I said this is the royal we. This is Patrick and myself talked about DC Universe Online last week. We gave our first impressions. That was basically, because the show is recorded on a Wednesday. It was based on approximately 8 hours of gameplay time, if that. I mean, 8 hours for me, perhaps perhaps a little bit less for Patrick because we got the game, the day before. However, there seems to be a couple of people out there and a couple of sites that have decided to take umbrage and, basically viewed us as the devil and PS3 haters and, we didn't give the game enough love. So I just want to reiterate to everybody, we only had a couple of hours playing this game. As for the PS3 hate, I played it on the fucking PC. All right, I didn't play it on the PS3. I didn't want to play it on the PS3.
To address those preposterous claims of system bias, man, you're only giving them fuel.
Well, no, Patrick's playing it on the PS3. I'm playing it on the PC. We've continued to play it. I now have,
and you actually played the game, unlike what some people.
Yeah, I mean, the number one, a lot of people were, well, actually one person in particular was very adamant about us doing our research and not knowing about all the PvP, and our characters got to 5 or 6 before we actually started recording the show, which a lot of the PvP stuff didn't really kick in. A lot of the epic powers don't kick in until level 9, level 10. And no, I didn't go out and watch all the videos beforehand. No, I didn't go out and play the beta. And I did that on purpose because when I go into a game, I like to go into a game cold. I don't want to go in all the time knowing every single aspect. I like to find out about a game for myself because, that's the sort of person I am. Not a lot of people like to do that. They like to read, lots of previews. They like to watch lots of videos. But me, I'm slightly different. I don't play preview builds. I mean, I don't really go to preview events. I actually just wait until the final version comes out, and that's my first reaction, and that's generally my most honest reaction. I shouldn't have to go through a whole bunch of videos to learn how to play a game. If the game's installed on my machine, I should be able to pick it up and play it, no problem at all. So, Patrick, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, just to iterate on that, yes, we did play the game, but albeit very briefly. When we did record Invisible Walls, we do record on Wednesdays, not Fridays. And I've said my deal about it, and I've had certainly more time to play it since then. You'll see a more accurate and revised version of my impressions in the launch report that just went up on the site. But like you said, a lot of the things that you'd normally expect to do right off the bat are locked away in DC Universe Online. PvP and instancing doesn't open up till later on, like level 9, level 10. So there are some discrepancies in our first impressions, but those are
we did did preface it. We did
early.
Put the caveat out that this was based on a couple of hours, and that's what you have to remember. We don't play for 18-20 hours of beta. I mean, for a start, the beta experience cannot be equated to the final experience. It's a beta test, so therefore you base it on the final experience, unlike some people are already doing. So, and the other thing is, in about 2 weeks, we're going to come back, Patrick and I, and we're going to have a proper segment on it, and we'll have a proper discussion, carrying on again, Patrick playing PS3, me playing PC, and then we'll have the final report really on DC Universe Online, because it is an MMO, and it does deserve a lot more time. So, hopefully that clears it up, and that'll be the end of the subject, which, it probably won't. Alrighty, that's a wrap for this week. We know we talked about the last week and said that Dead Space 2 would be talked this week, but no, there's an embargo that snuck up on us. So Shane will be back next week, Ryan will be back next week, and we will talk Dead Space 2 then, which will be, just post-launch. So thank you very much, gentlemen. Another great show, another fun show. Shane, Ryan, come back. We miss you. I don't like doing this hosting gig. Invisible Walls is out. See you next week.